Alrighty, so how are we? Has it all been ruminating and marinating? So you've marinated over lunch? First meal marinated. So any particular, we'll start with questions, then we're going to just get back to our contribution statements for a moment. Any particular questions about what we've covered so far? Or about, your own personal questions about your books or things like that as well? Anything at all before we kick off?
Can't wait.
Shut up, Maggie, just get on with it. That's so funny.
Not bothered.
And not bothered, really. All right. Sorry. Yep, of course.
I've written a lot of articles.
Yes.
A lot of the articles, they're all based on positivity. Thank you. So, for example, the next one coming out is Will Hoff. If you've anyone heard of Will Hoff?
Yes.
Yeah. And Bannister. So it's just showing exactly how we can do things out of the ordinary, etc. So I'm just wondering, when we're thinking about a book, should I put those articles together in a book?
Ooh, that's somebody who's thinking out of the box already. You already have a book, darling. You already have a book.
Probably.
No, probably. You already have a book.
I have actually another one, 369 pages, but it's like your...
But just in those articles alone, I know your dedication to the industry, I know your dedication to the specialists in the industry, and the dedication that you write on, your articles and opinions on books and things from the English and specialists in the industry. If you were to collate that together for industry and even put it towards Crown House Publishing and ask them if they would like to publish it for you, because they specialise in hypnosis books. So, I think you've got the makings of a book with that, without even telling your story, without you even doing anything. You've put so much energy into researching other experts in the industry and giving your spin on it. There's your book. A book doesn't have to be, there's so many different ways.
Next question, yeah. Will it sell?
Well, that's why you do your research to find out whether I would do some polls in industry associations to find out if practitioners want that kind of book. I would approach Crown House Publishing in America and ask them if they would be interested in that kind of book. And you'll know, if they say no, they're going to say there's no market for it. Yeah, but if they go, talk to me more about it, possibly.
Thank you.
It's exciting. Do you see how a book can become in many forms? You might already have your book sitting on your computer. Who knows? You might want to be, rather than, if you think you've got nothing particularly to say, I'll be with you in a sec, you might want to become an expert that interviews other experts and become the interviewer and be seen as the expert that way. Yeah, there's many different ways that you can think about how to produce the book. Yeah.
I was just going to say, my name's Lisa. Hello. Well, for me, the aha moment was when you were talking about your passion project, because I'd always thought about writing a book. And it was just like looking at it, okay, how am I going to do the content? It all just seemed really overwhelming compared to this morning when you said, well, maybe put that aside and look at something else where it's something more doable, measurable. So,
And get your runs on the board that way.
Yeah, so that has been my moment of, okay, I don't have to, look at a 300-page book down there. I can actually just move over this way for a bit until I get the momentum, and then, that can be later. So that's just really helped change, my mindset around it as well.
Oh, Lisa, that's fantastic. That's a huge shift, because you would have been stuck not doing anything because of that. How much? There's so much to put in this. There's so much I need to add. There's so much. And that would have stopped you producing anything. Whereas if you just get your first little 112-page book out that has meaning, that helps so many people, that people are more likely to read anyway, then all of a sudden you have an incredible momentum. And then do you think if you get 10,000 readers that buy your little 112-page book, and then you put out your epitaph, your absolute passion project, do you think they're going to buy it? Hell yes. Yeah, because they've already converted to like what you have to say. And again, there's caveats to all of that in the sense with something like your book, where it's for industry, where it's not for an end user, then it might be a little more substantial. It depends on the actual book, and it would depend on what Crown House, if you did go through a traditional publisher, would do as well. So again, it's all the individual. Each project has to be looked at individually to work out what's the best kind of avenue and the best step forward for it. There's always avenues that you would never even think of if you only know what you know. We've got another question down here.
If you've got a holistic view and there's a lot of different areas that you want to tackle, will you still break it down into different tables?
So you want to do a really broad topic, is that what you mean? With lots of different parts in it?
Yeah, like I'm looking at a very holistic approach and
To
some
what?
different areas to the art of happiness.
Okay, so it's a book about happiness, is that what it is?
And health and well-being.
Okay, yep. So what I would probably do is look at that a little more deeply to work out what's the hook. Yeah. So when we talk kind of the art of happiness, that's a fabulous book for somebody who already is an established author, and because it's not targeting a particular person. Anyone could do that, yeah? But if you write the book for anyone and think if I write it for everyone because everyone can read it and it's going to help everyone, you will sell it to nobody.
That would be just the ultimate goal.
Yeah. So what I'd look at doing is, if you're looking at including kind of the holistic approach to health, wellness, happiness, wealth, all of it, then I'd be finding the hook for the person who has the problem, and I would be targeting and writing the topic and the title around the person that would read that kind of book, not the topic. I wouldn't have that as kind of the title and stuff. Does that make sense? So again, it comes down to knowing who your audience is and knowing why you're writing the book. That will help you actually find the right little niche to market such a broad book.
Yeah, because it's very overwhelming. Like
Yeah.
so many areas to cover.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's kind of like my CPR brain training, right? If I'd put a book out just on CPR brain training that can help anyone, it can help addiction, it can help happiness, it can help depression, it can help you name it, it probably wouldn't have sold, yeah? So what I did was I put a book out on a very specific target market. Same book, I would have written the same book, yeah? But I put it out to a very specific target market, to the people who suffer from sabotage, procrastination, bad inner critic stuff, doubt, fear. Yeah, so there's 7 degrees of separation I talk about in the book that stop you from being here and where you want to be. And if we eliminate those 7 degrees, but if I'd actually just targeted everyone with CPR brain training is going to fix the world, and it's going to get you health, happiness, and all of that, I wouldn't have sold a thing. But because I'm targeting very specific niche, I can then do a different campaign and target a different niche for the same book. Make sense? So you can have a broad topic, but a very specific niche to target it to. Let's go back to our contribution statements. When we were doing this earlier today, how did that feel for you? Like, do you see why I do a contribution statement? The focus, it's all about me. If I can activate my heart and connect to the project that I'm working on, do you think I'm going to get up in the morning and think, nah, I'm not going to do it today? If I'm connected to it and I reactivate that every morning by going, I am here to serve 200,000, it actually changes me inside. And when it changes my cells inside, exactly what my molecular geneticist said about the kind of therapies that I'm using, it changes my cells inside, it changes my DNA. And my DNA and my brain talk together, and my DNA and my brain talk to my heart, and my DNA and my brain talk to my blood cells, and all of a sudden, my legs are running to my computer and I'm writing my book. Yeah? Because my body wants it to happen, my brain wants it to happen, my heart wants it to happen. And I use my contribution statements to activate that passion every day when I'm working on a project. So when you get this nailed and it moves you when you read it, and the test is when you read it out loud. When you read it out loud, I can hear everyone going, she's going to make me get up on stage and read it out loud. I'm not, yeah. But if you want to, you can. When you read it out loud to yourself or in front of the mirror and you record it for yourself and play it back to yourself, it needs to move you. It needs to bring you to the point where you go, this is my purpose. It might be my purpose for the next 6 months while I get this book out, and I might have a different purpose when I do something else in 6 months' time, but in this 6 months, this is my purpose. Yep. So let's start working on our contribution statements. So remember, what we want to do is be as specific as we possibly can and try and get as detailed but as simplistic as you possibly can, so that it's not you don't end up with a whole book itself that you have to read to yourself every morning. Yeah, you need to be able to read it in a couple of minutes to yourself, 1 or 2 minutes at the most. So I want you to think about, what is the contribution that you want to make to the world? Well, let's think about, make it easier for you, okay? I want you to choose one topic so that you know that you can do a contribution statement for multiple topics. So let's start with one topic first, all right? I want you to choose the one topic. If you had an idea for a book or a course, choose that topic right now. If you had multiple, just choose one right now. And if you didn't have one, just choose the last client that you dealt with, what you were helping them with, and write one on that. So you get to know how a contribution statement works. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So has everyone got a focus that they're going to be working on? Anyone not got a focus? Anyone need some help with deciding? No? So what we're focusing on is, my contribution is to serve who? Remember my examples? With the autoimmune community, I said it was to serve the autoimmune community to move toward health naturally and find peace with their body. With my practitioners, it's to serve at least 20 million people to experience their potential and feel more peaceful. Do you notice that with that one, I'm not actually serving? My contribution is not actually to the practitioners in the initial stage. My contribution is still to the end user. Because I'm saying I can reach 20 million people, and it's going to be easier if I do it with more people, with more messages, with more stories.
So it's to facilitate.
Yes, that's the facilitation, exactly. So, to serve who? How's that going? Any questions when you look at that first stage? If you've continued on, that's absolutely fine. The next, of course, is what how you're actually doing it. Okay, so how are you actually serving, and then take it through to the specifics of it. It's through a course or through a book or through both or whatever it is. So those first 3 stages are really defining who it is, what you do, and how do they benefit from it. Once you've moved through how you're going to do it, obviously then what you're looking for is, how do you measure that you've done it? So what is going to be the telling point that makes you go, oh my God, your oh my God moment, where you wake up in the morning and you go, I actually did it. Once you've got it down, just go back to it over the next couple of days. Just because what you put down today is, it might be, it feels like it's right and it feels like it's good. If you go down, I usually create these over about 4 or 5 days. So I'll do my first draft, and then I'll read it a couple of times. I'll read it the next day. I'll read it the next day. And I just tweak it over 4 or 5 days until I go, oh my God, I'm so connected to this. Yeah. And you just know after 4 or 5 days that, and every time I read either one of these two, these were my finished product after about 4 or 5 days. As an author, if you do decide to go down the traditional publishing route through a publisher, get a publishing lawyer to look at your contract. You can be tied up to not be like my friend who the books didn't sell, so she couldn't even sell the ebook herself. Yeah, they had the contract that the ebook had to sell for $29.95. Who sells ebooks at $29.95? So of course no one was buying it. And she wanted to drop the price to $9.95, and they wouldn't let her do it until she bought the rights to the book back after the contract ran out. Yeah. So if you are going to go traditional publishing, please engage a publishing lawyer, somebody who specializes in publishing, to check your contract out. Deal?
I have a question about oracle cards. Is that the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely the same thing. I've got some here. I actually was part of this project. I meant to show you those before. This is one of my early projects as well. We did Australian Wildlife Wisdom Cards, and I was the editor of this all those years ago. And the same principles apply. If you've done it through self-publishing or you've done it through traditional publishing, check the contract out.
Thank you.
Very much so. Alrighty, any other questions about contribution statements, or you're happy to kind of finish that in your own time and make sure you do? Maybe I should put a little accountability on that and say I want to see them all in my inbox in a week. Oh, somebody's saying no. Is that commitment to being an author? No. All right. So remember, if you have multiple products or multiple directions or multiple audiences, you do a different contribution statement to meet their needs. Yeah? So you might actually be targeting, what I say with my Emotional Eating Solutions course, okay? Originally, I was targeting the end user. People who had addictions to eating, had eating challenges in the past, eating disorders in the past, and they were my target market, and I had a contribution statement for that market. Then I realised, because I started getting asked by practitioners to do the course as well for training, I realised there was a totally different market to sell that course. And so I did a contribution statement for the practitioners who were interested in building the business around emotional eating clients. Make sense? So kind of think about who your market is and who you're targeting. Alrighty, we're going to move on to topics now. How exciting! We're going to try and get a little bit of clarity first around the kind of topic that, you know, you've already got some ideas, and then we're going to get into working out whether it's a hot topic or not, whether it's actually, there's an audience out there already, whether it's actually marketable, or whether you need to just slightly tweak it to a more marketable topic. Because there's no point in putting hours and hours and hours of work into something that doesn't sell. I've been there, it's heartbreaking, and every cell of you knows that it's going to be a great product. Every cell of you knows that if somebody bought it, they will change. If somebody bought it, that they will get something great out of it, but nobody buys it. Yeah? And so it's incredibly important that we get the target market and the topic right, and for them to join. So, given the purpose for writing your book, so we talked about the purpose before, whether it's to leverage, whether it's to open doors, whether it's to whatever it is, and given the contribution that you want to make to the world and the audience that you want to write to, what is your reader's greatest fear, joy, pain, love, or passion? These are the kind of questions you need to be asking yourself. What do they fear the most? What brings them the most joy? What inspires them? Who do they love? What do they want and desire? Yeah? Because it's what they want, remember, not what you want to give them. What they want is going to be what they respond to as to whether they actually put their hand in their pocket to purchase. So if you can get hold of what they want and give it to them on a platter, they will purchase it. Given that you know, you've already decided you're not going to produce a half-hearted product, you're going to produce great content. We can let go of that and be, you know, not focus on, yeah, but I should be focused on the fact it should be all about the spiritual side. It should be all about, I need to have the great content. Yes, let's just give a given that it is brilliant content. So now let's focus on who's going to buy it. Who's actually going to put their hand in their pocket? What do they want and desire? What are they fanatical about? Yeah, there are target markets out there that are completely fanatical about everything within that little niche. And no matter what it is, if it's got that word in the niche, they will buy it. Yeah, you might want to target cat ladies. Yeah, there's a whole niche out there in the world that are very, 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 very fanatical about cats. And if it's got it in the title, it will sell. Yeah. That's you, is it? So, if it was how to heal your mind and meditations to sit with your cat, yeah, so that heal your mind and while you're nursing your cat or whatever, you might actually think of buying that. It's a very terrible title, but you know what I mean, yeah? It's about, think about who your target market is, think about the message you're creating, think about the end result you want them to achieve, and then you tailor that to the actual target market. And you're only going to know that when you've worked out all of this, when you actually do your research and find out who that person is. What am I passionate about? So if you're unsure of what a title is or unsure whether to do the one that you're thinking about, somebody was saying they weren't sure, they've got something but they weren't sure. Start thinking about, what are you good at? What are your skills? What are you passionate about? What do clients or patients ask help for? Yeah, what do they continuously come to you and ask for help for? I've got a prime example of this. I actually was producing all these books and courses and end user and practitioners and doing fabulously, and I kept getting a lot of my one-on-one practitioners asking me for done-for-you stuff. Okay, they didn't want to do all the technical bit. They didn't want to write and edit the book. They didn't want to do all of that. And I resisted it, absolutely resisted it for years. But I kept getting asked for it. So there was an audience there, and I wasn't listening to it. Does that make sense? So if your audience is constantly saying to you, so if you've got clients in your clinic constantly saying to you, can I don't know, have some stress management, I feel like I need something more for stress, but you're focused on addiction, yeah? They're already asking you and telling you what they want. So it might not even be in the niche that you're currently writing for. It's like my couple that work up in Townsville. They work in the weight loss and the stop smoking area. That's their specialty. They just hone it, they love it, they embrace it, and they actually make a killing with it. But every one of their clients was saying to them, what do I do afterwards? I'm so stressed. Like, what happens if I fall back? Or what happens if this happens? Or what happens with that? So they weren't listening to that. And when they listened, we went, we need to create a stress and anxiety course. The customer was already telling them what they wanted. So now they've got a course they can sell to both the smoking clients, and they've got thousands on their list, the smoking clients and the weight loss clients. Make sense? But they wanted to produce a virtual gastric band course. Yeah? That's what they approached me about first. Let's produce a virtual gastric band course. And I went, yeah, we can do that. Is that what your customers want? So we put an email out to their customers, asked them what they wanted. Oh, we're so stressed. What about it? We've done the gastric band with them. What if we fall off track? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if something happens and I don't handle it and I start smoking again? Their audience told them that they wanted a stress and anxiety course. Do we get that? So what are your clients or patients asking you for? Is there a theme that you're getting? And just listen to that. What do they ask advice for? What stories do you have that actually surprise people? Move them. Think about those stories, because maybe that becomes the stimulus for an actual course or a book. Other topics, yeah? Are there topics that you actually get swept up in as well? So things that you read about or learn about that you lose track of time when you're doing it. And maybe you're more of an expert on that than you actually think you are. So just think about that. Are there topics that you're already doing that you could then share with others? That there are other fanatical people out there just as obsessed with a topic that you are. So after brainstorming, okay, your course topic ideas and we need to then identify whether there's actually a market need before we go any further. Just because you come up with a good idea, and I said before, I've made this mistake many times, it's a great idea, this course is fantastic, this book is fantastic, this is exactly what I need to do, and I go all the way down the track and then go, oh my God, nobody buys it. So once you've got the great idea, let go of your emotional attachment to it and do the research to find out if there is an audience who want to buy that, if there's an audience that actually want that too, okay? Now, the way to do that, there's a number of ways to find out if it's a hot topic. The first way is obviously to research the audience you currently have. So if you have a list of clients, if you have an email database, or if you have a following on Facebook, and sometimes you don't even need the following, you could actually, you could actually just put it out to lots of general groups out there, if you're part of women's groups or men's groups or things like that on Facebook, and say, I'm thinking of doing X. Is this something that you think is ABC, yeah? A little aha there. So you've got a big contact group that you could ask that question to.
Perfect group, yeah.
Perfect. Does that make sense? So you're not relying on your belief that it's going to be great. You're letting go of that attachment and you're putting it out to the people that are potentially putting their hands in their pockets and asking them, do they think it's a good idea? So if this is a challenge for you, what's your number one question you wish you had an answer for? And what's the second most important question? And that tells you a number of things. What that tells you is that they're interested in the topic, so it's a hot topic. But what it also tells you is what you need to put in the book. Oh my God, they've just given you the first most important thing that they need solved and the second most important thing that they need solved. So if you've got 500 people telling you what that is, you have enough for 20,000 books, yeah? So that's what's so important about asking and putting it out there. I did this with my Emotional Eating Solutions course. I had a database of maybe about 8,000 people at that point, and I actually put it out to my Emotional Eating Solutions audience. One of my lead tools to gather an audience was a stress and comfort eating quiz. So I have a quiz that people take, and it ranks them on certain levels of attachment to food. And I had thousands of people who've done that quiz. And so I thought, okay, I'm creating this course. I want to make sure this is the course they want. So I sent them out an email with exactly those two questions. And I got 640 people responding, yeah, with their two top key pain points. Do you think all of those pain points are in my course? My course changed dramatically, yeah? I thought they needed something else. Yeah, a lot of what I thought they needed because I knew from working in clinic with them but there were at least 20 or 30 extra things that I put in that course because of those pain points. All right, use Google Keyword Planner tool. Has anyone used this? Does anyone know what I mean? Yep, you have. So what you need to do is you need to create an AdWords account. You don't need to spend any money. You don't need to do any AdWords. So you create a Google AdWords account, and then once you've got an account, you can go in and actually type in Google Keyword Planner tool, and it will bring up a section where you type in keywords about your course, and it will give you some statistics around how many people are searching on Google, what's actually happening, how often, et cetera, and it'll give you some kind of SEO results there. Okay? This particular tool is just the most wonderful, wonderful thing in the whole world. It's called answerthepublic.com. Has anyone used it? Yes. Oh my God, I love this. I use this nearly every week to come up with ideas for blogs and things like that. It's incredible. So I'm going to just bring it up for those of you that haven't seen it. And so you just scroll down and you type in a keyword. Okay, so call out something that somebody might be working on, one of your ideas for your courses.
Abuse.
Abuse? A bit more specific?
Women. Abused women.
Domestic violence? Yep, okay. So, I've got to try and find, I can't see it on the screen, so I've got to try and find my mouse. Where is it?
On the pen.
Oh, there it is. So, we're typing it. So, domestic violence. So then you let it ponder. And it will think. And you scroll down and it's thinking. See how it's searching for questions? So it's found 167 questions that people are asking on Google every day. That's just the beginning. You wait for this, yeah? So it then gives you those exact questions. You now have 167 blogs or 167 chapters in your book, don't you? Because people are actually searching for this stuff on Google. It's already proven they know it and they want it.
You really need to have the pro to do that though.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the free version. If you go deeper into the pro, it's not that expensive though. I think, yeah. If you're going to use this professionally and use it for certain. If you buy the Pro version, it's actually quite cheap, and it will really give you some incredible data for what people are searching for already. There's an audience already for your stuff. You just got to ask the right questions. Does that make sense? It's even the wording that they're using. It's exactly what they're typing into the Google search engine. So it first of all gives you the questions. Then if you scroll down, it then breaks them down into 135 prepositions. So it then gives you the wording for that, how they're wording it in Google, what's actually happening. It will break it down further into the 68 comparisons. So they're comparing domestic violence with, or the solution to domestic violence versus doing it this way versus that way. Like, it is incredibly detailed. So you already know what people are searching for. Wouldn't you want to write a course in a book to what people are already searching for? What was that, sorry? But if you want to sell 1,000 books a month and 100 courses a week, that's kind of nothing. Yep. So 68 comparisons. If you keep scrolling down, 498 alphabetical. So then what they've done is they put all of the topics and the way that they approach it on Google into alphabetical order. Cool?
Is that the free version?
Yeah. And this is just the free version. So imagine if you actually had the Pro version to really hone that down more deeply. Annie, do you use Answer the Public much?
I have my car.
Yeah. So another topic. So that was one topic, domestic violence.
Fear of public speaking.
Beautiful. And then if we scroll down, it's coming up with how many? 38 questions in that particular wording. So you would just adapt, and you might put fear of speaking, you might put public speaking, you might just put all of those kind of things in. So it'll then give you 38 blogs, 38 chapters, or whatever you want to write on for all the different types of questions, prepositions, and of course then the comparisons and things as well. So
Questions I looked at, they were actually giving you advice instead of asking the question.
yes, so somebody's actually, but then what you would do is you need to tailor, if that's coming up a lot, then you need to tailor your course to meet that need. Yep, so it's giving you information about what people are already searching for. Is that making sense? Do you see that the research you can do, there's a lot of great ways that you can research that aren't going to cost you a lot of money, but that will cost you a little bit of time and commitment to do it. And patience, because most of us get the great idea and we want to jump in, do it, produce the course, write the book, let's do it, oh my God. But if you just spent a week or two just doing a little bit of research first, then you might actually find that you've pre-sold the course before it even comes out, which will be very cool, which is one model I'll show you in a moment, tomorrow morning. We had a question?
Yeah, just on that program, with the amount of questions, like 168, is there a minimum that you do before you go, no, I don't look at that topic, or obviously the higher the better?
Yeah, what I would do, if something came in quite low, I would actually search a lot of different questions around that to see if I can get, if there's a more detailed kind of approach to it. Instead of fear of public speaking, I might search just public speaking alone and see if that came up with relevant questions that were aligned with the fears. And that would help me determine my direction. But I don't have specific numbers on that. I think you've just got to go with your gut, move around 3 or 4 different topics, not the same topic, but 3 or 4 different ways of wording it, and see whether it comes up with enough questions for you to assess that. If it was low, I would also definitely do the Google keyword search planner, yeah. And I would definitely do a poll on Facebook and a poll to my email database. I would want to double check and triple check that there's going to be a market there.
Do you have the Pro version?
No, I just use the free version. If I was to take this more seriously, where I was looking for SEO keywords and things like that, and because I get somebody else to do that for me. So if I was doing my SEO and keywords and things, I would probably get the Pro version for this. And if I had some products that weren't really selling, I might then go back and look at this and think, maybe I need to change the title, maybe I need to change something or tweak something. But at the moment, everything's fine. So, but yeah, I've just worked with the free version up till now. The other thing that I would do as well is actually prepare a little short free magnet, a lead magnet. Does everyone understand if I use the term lead magnet? Is there anyone that doesn't understand that term? A lead magnet is like a free little giveaway, like a PDF document or a quiz like I did with my Emotional Eating Solutions quiz. It could be a cheat sheet of the top 10 tips to such and such. And I would actually put that out on social media and see what the level of interest is. So if I'm creating a course on the fear of public speaking and I create a free little, it might be a 2,000 word article with some great tips and strategies, might even have a little video or something like that in it, and I put that out there and I got crickets when I put it out there and no one answered it, no one even downloaded it, nobody registered, I would know that I needed to change something in that dramatically, and that whatever title I was using, whatever idea I'd come up with maybe needed to be readdressed.
So, in your opinion, what is better, a video or blog?
I actually do a video blog, yeah. Video is king. So all my blogs will have a video in them. Any questions about that? Annie, do you have any other ways that you would search for a hot topic?
Quora.
Oh, I don't know that one. Ooh, I love learning something new. What's Quora?
Q-U-A-R.
O-R-A, I think it is.
Yeah. It's just where people go and ask all sorts of questions, and you get tagged. If you've said that you're an expert at photography or something, it'll tag you and send you the question.
Is it Quora? Q-U-O-R-A? Yeah. Those of you that are using it? Yes. O-R-A, yep. Thank you. Anything else? Anyone else using anything or think of anything? Absolutely. Without a doubt. And groups, I would be searching groups. If you search for groups on that topic and see how many groups there are, if there's a lot of groups with a lot of people in those groups, there is a need for that topic. Yeah? Use all of those skills and resources that are already available to find out if your topic and your niche actually want that topic. So find your Facebook groups that are all about your topic. Find out how many people are in them. Join them and see if they're interacting, or is it a dead group? Yeah. Post your free lead magnet in it and see if anybody takes it up. Obviously following the group's guidelines. You need to follow the group's guidelines that you are allowed to post, but do as much as you can with free stuff that is out there to determine whether this is actually, it's minimizing your risk, isn't it? If you put in, 100 hours to produce an online course and a book, or 200 hours or whatever it is, and you get crickets when you go to sell it and you hadn't actually done the research before as to whether it was actually, you're talking Maggie Wilde did this, yeah, then you can't do anything but say, well, you know what, I was silly, I should have actually researched it first.
So Maggie, you used this sort of tooling before you started writing books, or you just wrote your books and then learned about the tooling and then started marketing?
Yeah, no, my first books, I didn't use any of this stuff. I just got inspired to write something, and then it was some of them it was a challenge. Others I had a fluke and I ended up on telly and lots of things happened. But the early ones that weren't already, like topics like weight loss, is pretty guaranteed that there's a hot market there for it. You just got to get the right niche. So that kind of book, I didn't bother doing too much research on it because I knew there was a market for it. But any of my earlier ones, I didn't do any research, and they were obscure topics, and they're the things I should have been doing research on for the earlier ones. With my Unleashed one, I did. I researched who was, wanting help with sabotage, procrastination, the inner critic, fear of failure, all of that stuff. I actually got some stats and I did all this kind of research and I looked at the questions they were asking. Cool. Any other tips, Annie, that you would have for this? Oh, great. So you would interview clients who are already, looky, this is a great idea. So you would find somebody who you've helped with this, or that somebody you might know that topic needs help, that they need help with that topic. Or you might put a call out where you're asking, it might be a little call out ad where you're asking for a favor. of people who are fearful of public speaking or people who blah, 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 that you would love to have a half an hour of their time to interview them. And in return, you might give them XYZ. They can have a free session or whatever it is. And interview them about what they're going through. What's their language? What language do they use? Cool. What keeps them up at night? What do they fear the most? What do they love the most? What do they hate the most? Great idea. Thank you. Excellent. Research, research, research. Due diligence. Best. Search social media groups. I had that on there. And look at the discussions. Look at what's actually going on. Gauge the amount of people in the groups. Gauge the discussions that are going on to see if people are actively involved in this particular topic. And if you combine all of that research and you bring it together, you're actually going to know at the end of that. And that might take you a week to do. Yeah, but as a week in the scheme of things, really, it's nothing in the scheme of things, is it? Because that week will have saved you weeks and weeks of heartache of creating something that didn't sell. And then you may not get off your bum and do another one because you think, oh my God, I failed at the first one. Yeah? Why not give yourself every chance of succeeding before you even go? We're moving into titles. So I've got some tips on titles. With titles, there's actually a very basic formula. And if you understand the formula, creating the title actually becomes much, much easier. The general rule of thumb is 1 to 5 words for the title. Now, that can be up to 7 words, really. And I do know some books with more than 7 words, but the majority of books, if you go and do some research at a bookstore, the majority of books have a 1 to 3 or 5 word title, and then a subtitle of any length. Your subtitle and your title have to make a promise. There has to be and I'm going to go into this very, very deeply and in depth tomorrow with the courses. When somebody reads the title and the subtitle, they need to know with absolute certainty what the outcome they're going to experience by reading this book or doing this course. So it has to make a very clear promise. So we'll look at some of those as examples. The book that's called No Worries, A Guide to Releasing Anxiety and Worry Using CBT. Who thinks that makes a promise? Are you absolutely clear on what that book does? It does, doesn't it? It's very certain. So it's a 1-word title or 2-word title, No Worries. And then with absolute certainty, it's making a promise that this book is going to provide the guide to overcoming stress and anxiety and it's been very specific, using CBT. These ones, we have Superbrain. This is a Deepak Chopra book. So he's got a 2-word title, Superbrain, Unleash the Explosive Power of Your Mind. Is that making a promise? Absolutely. It's like, oh my God, excitement. I want my brain to explode with power, and oh my God. The Barefoot Investor. This is a great book subtitle. The Only Money Guide You Will Ever Need. Is that a promise? Hell yeah, that's a big promise. Does the book deliver? But the promise makes you buy it. Why do you think it was a 3-star, I don't know how many time bestseller? A friend of mine, actually, she calls herself the insider expert, and she used to work for Wiley Press, who published this book. And she was actually part of the marketing team that pulled together his marketing campaign and stuff, and the titles and things. Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal process that this goes through for this particular book. And it was a marketing thing. And he's just released another one for kids and stuff. And it's all about the title. It's all about, you would buy that book because it promises the solution to every money problem you've ever had. Spark, how exercise will improve the performance of your brain. Does that make a promise? That if you exercise, if you read this book, you will understand that when you exercise, this is what's happening in your brain and it's going to help you, da-da-da. Does it actually inspire you to buy the book? So it makes a promise, but it doesn't inspire you, does it? Even though this book actually sold quite well, it sold in therapeutic circles very, very well. But if that was a book on the shelf for the end user, it's kind of like, yeah, not really, yeah? So if I was doing that to an end user, I'd kind of tweak the subtitle.
Exploding performance of your brain with exercise.
Yeah, but the end user doesn't really want to know the hows, they just want to know the outcome. So that's like kind of, we'll show you the features. That's what that's saying, rather than I want to know the benefits. I want to know how it's going to help me. I want to know what's going to happen. What's going to happen when I improve the performance of my brain? That's what I want to know. We don't want to sell features in our titles. We want to sell benefits. The outcomes. We want to sell the outcomes, make the promise of the outcomes in our titles.
What's that last one?
Sorry, go.
I wouldn't even, that last one about Spark.
Yep.
So if I just saw that, oh, actually I don't have to buy the book because I just know if I walk around the block.
Yeah. So it does. It doesn't inspire. Having said that, it was a very successful book and still is. Rati is a brilliant writer. I actually like his stuff. But for an end user book, the title wouldn't actually be ringing any bells for me. I'd want to make an outcome in that title, in that subtitle. Okay. Some tips for, this is including titles for your books and courses, not just your books. Especially for courses, if you do the kind of things that give people exact outcomes, if they see very clearly by your title that I'm going to get the 7 steps to whatever the transformation is, so the transformation is the feature, the thing that they feel and get after it, then it's very clear. It's a very clear promise in the person's mind. There's 7 exact steps here. And 7's pretty cool because it's not too overwhelming, is it? Imagine if that said the 54 steps to such and such. You'd kind of go, no, I want to buy that one. Yeah. Yeah. So the numbers are very important as well. Again, it's usually between the 1 and 7 at the tops if you're doing step kind of stuff. No more than 7. 4 weeks to transform X, A into B. Yeah. The 5-step system to transfer A into B. How to transform A into B. It can be as simple as that, as long as it's talking about the outcome that they get, the benefits that they get, not the features. Transform A into B in just 4 short weeks or days or years or months or whatever it is. 30-day plan to transform A into B. And the 5-step guide to transform A into B. So that just gives you a couple of ideas to start thinking about, not just for your book, but for your online courses as well. The more clarity you give them that makes it seem easy, gives them absolute direction of what to expect, makes a promise of the outcome, and offers the transformation. If your title can do all of that, you will have a no-brainer title. And what do? You come up with a brilliant idea for a title. What do? What's step 2?
You research.
Send it to your group.
Yay! Yeah, we send it out to people because we don't trust ourselves, do we? It's so important to then go, well, I think this is a really good idea, but do the people that are going to buy it think it's a good idea? Yep. And so I would come up with that topic and that title, and I would be sending it out to my lists. I would be sending it out to my Facebook groups. I'd be sending 2 or 3 options. I normally do a poll, so I'll actually write a free poll up in Facebook, and I'll say, I'm producing a new course at the moment or producing a new book at the moment. These are the titles that I'm thinking about. Which ones do you prefer? Would love your feedback. Yep.
With so much written already, would you go and research as well if it's already been used?
So I forget your Alda is asking if there's so much that's been written already and it's already, so if that topic is already out there.
Copyright issues and so on.
Yeah, it's definitely about using your intuition as well as your ability to find a slightly different angle to it. Yeah, so there are thousands of books on weight loss. Thousands and thousands and thousands of them. There are thousands of books on stress. There are thousands of books on addiction. There are thousands of books, well, hundreds of books on stop smoking. There's thousands of books on specific topics. Does that mean that people stop writing about it?
But with the title, for example, there's some slogans that would be very popular. Like I ended up using one in my company, like as an undertitle, health is an inner job.
Right. And somebody had a copyright on that?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. I think what Elda's writing, and correct me if I'm wrong, is if you come up with a title and you need to just double check, is it out there? Is it trademarked or is it something like that? Yeah. Of course do that. You could also search the trademark business. You could do the business registration, see if there's businesses out there using it, all of that kind of stuff to cover yourself. But, you know.
I did with the main title, but not with the undertitle. So.
I think book titles can't be copyrighted anyway, actually, because you can have you can actually produce a book called the Bible. So a book title itself can't be copyrighted. I think what you were talking about is businesses' slogans and things can be trademarked. So you need to be aware of that and not use their trademarks. But you can't actually copyright a book title. And so, you could actually write a book called Spark, yeah? You could write a book called the Bible. But do you want to? That's what you've got to ask yourself. Do you want to do that? And what's your point of difference? All right, before any book, final decision for titles. Oh, we had a question, sorry.
I just want to ask with the poll, and you were talking about the title and putting the poll there, do you also put your subtitle there?
Yes, everything, both together. Yep. It needs to flow because the title and the subtitle needs to make the promise. So if they don't make the promise together and they end up with the same feeling, the right feeling, then just putting one or the other isn't going to help. You need both. Yeah, definitely. So before any final decision, so you've done your research, you've come up with your idea, you've done your research, you've done your due diligence, you've worked out whether there's people interested in this topic, you've put a poll out there to get preferences, to get ideas on their top problems, their top challenges, and which titles they prefer. Then, before any final decision, before you get set on that title and attach your heart to it, wholly and solely, check to see if the URL's available.
So based on that, do you mean that every single book that you produce has got its own website?
Not a full website. It has a website page, a URL that might be connected to my main website, but the URL I've purchased and I direct it. So if somebody types in unzip the fat suit, then it goes to my main website on a page for that book. Yeah. If they type in Mind Potential Academy, it goes to a page on my website. I don't have a separate website for them all. I have a separate page. And a website is really just, it could be a one-page thing. That's still called a website. Yep.
Thank you. Then you'd have your main name of your website and then backslash and the name of the book?
If you've got your own domain for the book, you would actually have unzipthefatsuit.com, and that would be its own right. So it would then direct back to your book, back to your website. So you have the actual domain, you buy the domain of the book title or the course title.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
You either have to create a website.
So if you've got one existing,
buy the domain,
yep.
or you still have to buy the domain, but
yes.
use that back.
Yes, you buy the domain, both the .com and the .au, and if you don't want to create a full website for it because you've already got an existing website that relates to your topic, you can't have a website on motor mechanics and you want to put, how to, I don't know.
Shell peas.
Yeah, yes, how to shell peas. If they don't connect, then you don't want to connect them.
I can't swear to, you might know, but AU, you have to have a business.
You do. So if you're getting a .au, you've got to have an ABN. You've got to have a business ABN.
But it doesn't have to be separate. You can just connect it to your current ABN.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yes, you don't need a new one.
Separate ABN, you can just connect it to your current ABN.
Yeah, you don't need a new ABN for the URL. So I've got about 60 different domains, and they're all under my one ABN for my business.
But we're talking about taking out a new URL with an AU on it.
Yes, but you can still use the same ABN.
Oh, okay.
You don't need a new ABN.
Right.
Yep. If you're based in Australia, I would always do .au. If you want to do .org, fabulous, but I would always have .au. I don't actually advertise my .au sites unless I cannot get the .com. And if I've bought it and I can't get the .com, there's a very good reason for it. I would have weighed up whether I really wanted to do that or not and made a punt. But 99% of what I've got is .com and .au. Even if I don't use them and I just park them and I forward them to my main site.
You can actually get some unusual website endings now.
Yes. Actually, Kelly was telling me about one yesterday. What was it?
Yeah.
.new. So
yes, you can have .new now.
Yeah. So your business name .new. So new, and there's also now. So
.now.
.now.
Mm.
Again .org. Everyone knows.
So you could have fear of public speaking. .now. .new. So much. Oh my God. These are some examples of some not particularly good. Would you buy that? You would, wouldn't you? Some of these I've used as an examples because just because they're bad doesn't mean they don't sell. Yep. Because that makes it enticing, doesn't it? It's funny. You know, the promise is this is going to be a cheeky bloody book. Yeah? So it might be a bad title, but it's a bloody good book. Yeah? And it's sold. What about that? Who knows? Yes. It actually had 4.5 stars on Amazon. How cool is that?
That's cool.
2 reviews.
I don't even know what it's about. Like, what could that book possibly be about? It was written in the 1960s or 1970s or something, and it sold so many. What is it about? The title doesn't even tell you. There's no promise there, but it's still sold. So everything I'm telling you is kind of, there's a golden rule. It's kind of the basic rules to go by, but sometimes the world surprises you, yeah? So if you can come up with the most ridiculous, funny, or cheeky, or controversial topic, sometimes it actually just works. The best quilting book that was ever written, and it sold lots, yeah? So do you see, you can actually have fun with your covers and things as well. You can use controversy, you can use lots of stuff. Depends on what you're writing, who you're writing for, and whether that market has. You've got to do the research. If they've got the sense of humour, if they've got the ability to do that, you've got to do your research, yeah? And again, with your front covers, and not just your titles, you'd be what? What do you do with your front cover the minute you get your first draft of your front cover? Put it out to Facebook, put it out to your media, put it out to, and ask, what do they think? I always get 2 or 3, I actually usually get 3 designs, and I put the 3 out there and say, which do you prefer? Tell me what resonates with you. Any questions about, does anyone have a working title? And I want you to call the titles you come up with working titles, because nothing is set in stone until you've done your research. Nothing is set in stone until you've actually confirmed that there's a market for it, and nothing is set in stone until you've got your URL. So it's always a working title, so you don't get too attached to it until you can honestly say you've got the domain there, it's all happening. You had a question?
No idea.
Okay.
Finding your feline presence, because I'm a cat lover, and you were talking about cats, and so finding your feline presence, the guide to finding your...
Well, hang on, we need to ask your target audience. So, Lynette, how do you feel about this topic and this title?
Okay, let me have it.
Oh, sorry. Finding your feline presence.
Yeah.
Presence within
Yeah,
your presence.
it's
Your inner presence.
I'd want to see a picture with it to really feel into it. Yeah, actually, I'd like that. If it was round like that, that'd be real cool.
When you say find your inner feline?
I don't know. Finding your feline presence. The guide.
Yeah.
I do.
The guide to what? No, find
Your
your
feline
feline presence, or finding your feline presence.
So I want to just stop here and what this is shown. Do you see here in a room just this size, not even putting it out to hundreds of people, we've got 4 or 5 opinions. Yeah? Do you see why this is important to do?
Because the subtitle says the guide to find your worth within. So
Finding your feline presence, the guide to find your worth within.
And that's why I like the word presence.
yeah,
That's right. I think to me, presence is in right now.
Yeah.
That's why I like the now and the new with the book.
Well, it's what I'm made up of. It's my presence, what's
Yes.
in me
Yes.
that's not out yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to find it.
Yeah.
You might be the 1 in 100 that doesn't. But do you see why it's important? This is a prime example that you might be really attached to that title, but if it bombs when it goes out there, it means your book will bomb too. Yeah? And you don't want to put all that hard graft into it and not come up with some results. So I like the play on word for feline. I love it. And it would be a matter of coming up with 3 or 4 versions of that and putting it out to your markets, putting it out to cat groups, all of those kind of things. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, you'd be targeting cat groups. What are you thinking about? What was that, sorry?
I said there's heaps of them.
Absolutely, there's heaps of them. And dog groups and you name it. I'm sure there's spider groups out there for people who love spiders too. Who knows? Alrighty, thank you very much. Lovely. What's her name? I always try and find her name. Eleanor. Eleanor. She's just beautiful, isn't she? Alrighty. Who wants to structure a book in 17 minutes? 17 minutes. Actually, it's 16 and a half to be precise, and I'm going to time it. Okay?